Film Slice crew review Godzilla.
My God. Zilla.
King of the Monsters. Hey team, Angus, Strachan here, and welcome to the Film Slice Podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Kane Diggly Wiggly Kane Dogs.
Hello.
Otherwise known as... What was your rap name? I totally forgot it.
Godspiller.
Godspiller.
Because he spills them godlike rhymes.
Autocorrect.
And the man formerly known as Bro Diddly Doo Broadman Richards, this week known as...
Oh, we're not making that noise every time.
Broadzilla.
Brozilla.
Brozilla.
Broadspiller.
Broadspiller. Has no connection to Godzilla whatsoever.
It's very derivative.
He just spills a lot of tea. This week we are reviewing Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters.
Just right off the top, shouldn't it just be King...
Monster. Godzilla, King Monster.
Monster King.
King of Monsters? I would have said King of Monsters.
How about
instead of King of the Monsters?
Godzilla at no point in time.
Godzilla, the King of Kong. Hang on.
Godzilla Skull Island.
Godzilla, the majority elected president of the monsters.
Godzilla, the dictatorship.
Godzilla, monster is a bit hurtful.
Godzilla, as voted by the democracy.
Jesus.
Yep, so you can change it to any of those if you like. Kane Dogs, do you want to whip out that IMDb summary of the above aforementioned
Jordan
movie?
does it every week. You'd think you'd have it ready by now, but he doesn't.
Hey,
no, he doesn't. No,
Hey,
he doesn't.
Oh.
Spill it, Jordan. Spill it, God.
I'll spill it all over the...
Do you want me to give you a beat? Here we go.
No. Mate, it's hard enough for me to read this stuff. The cryptozoologist agency Monarch faces off against a battery of God-sized monsters, including a mighty Godzilla, who collides with
This is the
Mothra.
whitest thing I've ever heard.
Was it my beat?
It was the whole thing. It was every part of it.
Every time Angus beats,
Okay,
it's gonna
everyone
be
who's
white.
listening, you are lucky that you are not here to experience this in person.
We were also doing very white hip movements.
bobbing.
Side to side, stepping, dancing.
We're both wearing silver leotards.
Jordan's wearing a coat.
Like, imagine those kind of raps from the 90s school era that
We
were
were
like
actually-
educational.
We were-
that's
we-
what
Hi,
did.
We
and
performed,
I'm here to say that Jesus is great in a major way.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that old Christian
We
rap.
just finished playing this song at Ninja Turtles, the Ooze movie, directly after.
Just get on with the IMDb. There's no
The
beats, no
cryptozoologist
numbers.
agency Monarch faces against a battery of god-sized monsters, including the mighty Godzilla, who collides with Mothra, Rodan, and his ultimate nemesis, the three-headed King Koidora. Koidora? Koidora. Who
Ghidorah?
remembers the name?
I thought it was just Ghidorah.
Ghidorah, yeah.
Ghidorah.
Yeah.
It's got 7
Ghidorah
consonants
the
at the beginning.
Explorer.
Hey.
Bit of a spoiler.
Exploring worlds.
Yeah, sweet. All right. When did you see the movie, and what did you think?
When did you see the movie? What did you think? Do you like the movie? None of the shit.
K-Dogs.
Yo.
Godspiller. Spill it.
All right. I saw...
Oh, damn, sweet rhymes.
Saw the
Angus,
movie.
throw down a beat.
He somehow made it more white. I don't know. It might be the tap dancing. I saw it Saturday night with Brody. I was quite
Hashtag use my real name.
still quite sick, and sniffly and whatnot. I went into this movie with not knowing that I'd dislike it, and I did. It was real bad. Not a fan.
Jordan
enough.
set in his ways.
Fair enough. Broad Spiller.
Yep.
Spill it.
You
God,
remember
that
it.
rolls off the tongue.
You remember it. I saw the movie with my driver on Saturday night. And yeah, it was pretty trash. Pretty
dog,
Ooh,
except it was a lizard.
I saw this movie last night, and I thought it was worse than the first one.
Yep.
And
if you want that to be elaborated on, head over to Angus's YouTube channel.
yeah. Thanks, King Dogs.
Strachan.
Strachan.
Shameless plug, but also kind of interrupted him and stopped him in his tracks.
spelt with 3 C's and 2 H's.
Moving on. lads, you know how every week I put up on Instagram and Broadman puts up on Twitter and Cane Dogs puts up on Facebook.
Except this time, Brody definitely didn't put it up on Twitter because he never does. But also, I forgot to put it on Facebook, even though I do every time except for this time. Yes.
Cool.
Hang on.
Cool.
Jordan, you didn't do your one job for the podcast?
I also read out the IMDb, Brody, and I rapped it.
Jeez.
And I drove you to and from the
That's
cinema.
right. His job is to rap occasionally.
Yeah. I'm sorry that we are paying Jordan because he's a professional rapper.
It was a weird thing to put in the contract.
Yeah, must rap in at least 1 out of 100 podcasts.
Yeah. And I've met my quota.
Anyway, so just to round that off, I've put on Instagram.
Okay.
And I actually put it yesterday, so bloody look at me go.
Okay, alright.
Here
it away.
No, I can't do the beat and sing. I've just found out.
We expected to do both.
Yeah, thanks for backing me up, guys.
Now look, it died twice.
Jordan's the rapper, you're the beatboxer,
Sorry.
and I'm the disappointer. We all got it.
And Brody's very good at disappointing people.
Yeah.
MC Angus, or as I'm known in Scotland, McAngus.
Angus. You can order him at drive-thrus.
So on Instagram, we've
Classic
got
Angus.
one private message.
Ooh, is it a nude? Is it a nude?
This is from the Village Vidiots.
Ooh.
They say, I published my new episode 10, 90s Country with Colton. Please check it out.
Okay. Well, how come they're privately messaging us that? We've never met them, talked to them, we have no affiliation.
Well,
it's
go
not a
over,
bit.
go over them, tell them if we're any
Yeah,
good.
let them know
What's
if we're
weird
any
is
good.
this sounds like a bit that we usually do where we secretly know someone and we're pretending we don't. We actually don't
really
know these
don't.
people. We don't know who they
Don't
are.
know them.
They're
How
just
many other people have they gone
privately
through and
advertising to us, which is nice.
How many people have they privately messaged?
Probably a lot, I
don't know.
guess.
Just
Either
us.
that,
We
or
just
they're
us.
like,
Unfortunately, John, we don't have the analytics from
They-
their
yeah.
Instagram.
nah, they really just want to get our 3 listeners. They just want to
okay,
poach
yeah,
our
yeah.
3 listeners.
So Connor, if you're listening, head
Don't
over
do
to
it. Yeah, sweet. And then I got 2 bloody comments on
fair enough.
our post. Our first comment is from long-time listener, not.film/host.
He's not a long-time listener. He's a host.
And this comment, I'll read out verbatim. Ring Jordan is boring.
Oh man,
Nailed it.
And next comment from
way to kick me while
Hooverman91.
I'm down.
Next one from Hooverman91. Fappo. ... Space. ... Leave. Full stop.
Talking about any one of us. Could be any one of us.
Sweet. Anyway, that's what our the Slicey Slices thought of
Wow.
that week. If you want to join in the convo, make sure you hook us up on Instagram, because Instagram is faithful. Facebook, not so much.
I've been more consistent with
you
Facebook
have been
than
more
you have been
consistent,
with Instagram.
and Instagram.
Let's take a look at the last
and
week.
Twitter.
Nothing up there.
Twitter, definitely not. All right, moving on. Would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it? Yeah.
No, wouldn't. There's nothing that I think is enjoyable about this film. I think it's long and it's boring. And if you want to go see a fun monster film, then go see a fun one. And if you want to go see a serious one,
See Godzilla 1.
see the first one or other better ones.
Fair.
Brod?
Yeah, pretty much agree. If you want to go see a good monster film, just go watch John Wick 3. If you want to go see a better Godzilla film, just go watch
John Wick 3. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone based on the fact that there are better movies
I thought you were just
out
going to
there.
stop after
Yeah,
anyone.
but-
I probably wouldn't recommend this to anyone.
But if you
Anyway.
if you watch the first one and like, where does this go? I guess you see the next one.
I think more specifically,
And then you're
then
still
you
still
regret it.
questioning. You're still questioning where
if
does
you
this
like
go?
Skull Island and you're like, God, I'd love for this to become a cinematic universe, then
Watch the next Godzilla
watch
film.
the next Godzilla film.
Don't watch this one.
watch
Watch Godzilla vs
3.
Kong.
Because
Yeah.
Godzilla,
Godzilla.
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 Kingzilla.
Angus, what's our next segment? What do we do after
Our
this?
next, well, generally we go into spoilers if we have nothing else to say. Do we have nothing else to say?
See John Wick 3.
All those
Yeah,
in
see
favour
John Wick 3.
of moving on to spoilers?
Yeah, I'm in favour.
Also,
of
John Wick
moving
1 and 2 are both on Netflix. So
Yeah. If you wanna,
so if you want to double down, you can binge the first 2 and then go see the third one.
Yep,
Cool.
yeah,
All right, let's head into spoilers. Spoilers.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus.
All right, we are in the spoiler section and we dissected, devoured everything about the film. You've been warned. May God have mercy on your soul. And
We know
for
you're listening.
all those in favour, say aye.
Yo!
Aye.
First off, cinema dicks. Anyone got a big dick in their cinema?
I mean, I did, but
Angus is a
not
bit too
worth-
proud of himself for that one.
not worth
Oh,
bringing
yeah,
up.
yeah, I had a dick. Obviously, Jordan was there.
I just got a message from
Over to you,
Facebook
Jordan.
saying people haven't heard from the Film Size podcast in a while.
A little bit too late, Facebook. A little bit too late.
Nah, not that I can think of. Probably me, because halfway through the film I kept telling Brody that we should leave the cinema and go see John Wick 3. And also, I was sick, so I was like sniffing and coughing
Yeah.
through the film, but I couldn't, like, I opted to see it the latest point in time I could.
No Cinema Saint for this week, Jordan?
Cinema Saint, Brody...
That's a probing question.
Nah? What's the Cinema Saint?
Nah.
Cinema Saint, a security guard came in halfway through the film. Like, sometimes the security guard comes into our cinema and just makes sure the crowd is, like, there to not
Enjoying
be,
themselves.
like, yeah.
You know, you might do a
And he
cartwheel
came
out the
in-
front just to...
Come on!
Just
Get
to
up
bring out the
Godzilla!
energy a bit. Do the clap over their head.
He came in
Come on, Zilla, come on, come on.
Oh, Godzilla!
he started a wave.
Give me a G! Give me an O!
Just a moment, I don't know
Give
how
me
to
a
spell
D!
Godzilla.
Not like that. Give me a Z!
Anyway, he came in and then just proceeded to sit down and watch like an hour and a half of the
Yeah,
movie.
that's pretty
And
much
then
what
left.
happens every week in fucking Wool World. The security guard just comes in, he looks up at everyone, and then he takes a seat and watches 30 minutes of the film.
Love it.
Jeez. Oh, Jordan could have mentioned the Cinema Saint of Brody handing him a little lozenge in the middle of the cinema because he was
That's
very,
true.
very sick.
Brody did hand me a lozenge. It was lozenged straight into my mouth.
Consider it lozenged.
They're lozenged.
So, yes, did I have a cinema dick? Not,
Yep, that's
not
what we said.
Really. There was a guy in front of us that I feel like
You
you
didn't
two
know?
would have really enjoyed going to the movies with, because he was the kind of person that just kind of laughed out loud at how dumb some of the things were. Like some of the one-liners,
we
he
did.
was just like,
Yeah, that's
We
what
were probably the dicks for other
were
people that
probably
were
the
really
cinema dicks.
interested in the film.
I don't think there was
Because like so
anyone
much
really
stuff
interested.
happened and me and John just cracked up laughing.
Yeah.
And no one else did.
yeah. So I guess I had one of you in my cinema.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's great is you're like,
You're
yeah, I
welcome.
think there was someone in my cinema that you guys would have really liked to hang out with. And I thought you
Not
were going
me.
to alert to you, and you were like, yeah, there's another guy in my cinema. And I was like, no, I guess.
Yeah, you guys hate me.
Yeah. That's why we never see a film with you.
Yeah.
Wow. We
Anyway.
did have a little dick. Towards the beginning of the movie, an older woman came in and she just had her light on her phone and she just turned it up at everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, and she couldn't find the people and the people were right in front of her and she was like, oh, sorry. And then she walked up, but she didn't turn her light off. So she was like, haha, I didn't see you guys there. And she was carrying a crate of food. She
It
had
was
like a
like-
crate.
it was like a
and
trolley.
She put down the crate on a chair, still with the light on, and then she was just handing everyone their food with the light on just shining in all of our eyes. And then she finally sat down, still had the light on for a bit too long as they were chatting, and then eventually turned the light off.
Wowza.
That was annoying.
That was annoying. We didn't give her a lozenge.
Nah.
She got none.
She's lozengeless. All right, heading on to our most positives. Let's knock this bad boy over. Rhymezilla, go for it. No, Godspiller. Sorry. Sorry.
Fuck is
Angus,
Rhymezilla?
I'm Rhymezilla.
Sorry.
Jordan's Godspiller. My real name's Broadzilla.
Sorry about that. Godspiller. Spill it.
Right, look, I really struggled to find a positive for this film. The
Yeah.
only positive I could really find is the idea, the premise for this film. I think as a concept is really cool, and if someone had told me just the premise, I would have been excited.
Yeah.
Until I remembered that movie exists and it's called Pacific Rim, and that's just that there's a bunch of monsters and they're going to show up all over the planet and they're going
And
to
then
start
a
wreaking
couple of
havoc.
guys jump into a giant robot, and they go and they kill the monsters. Then they go through to another dimension, and they blow up the
The
alien
thing
dimension.
is that like the first half, I'm like, okay, cool, where are they going to go with this? And if you said they're going to make giant robots, like, cool. But if you say there's just another big monster and that's going to fight all of them, and maybe if you perceive it to be a good guy, it can be the hero,
Yeah.
or you can just perceive it to be another big monster that killed some other big monsters, in which case it's just two big monsters that you don't care about fighting. And that's what it was. My biggest positive is just the idea of this film. When you
The
talk
general
about,
idea
when you
was
talk about
alright.
when you talk about the first film, you're like, where are they going to take it from here? And the only idea they came up with is, well, let's do more monsters. great, I guess. Where else do you take it?
It was an alien monster.
We'll get to that.
Brodzilla / Rhymezilla. Spill it.
Spilling it. So I love Ken Watanabe, who is a great actor and was in this film. He also, like, from The Last Samurai. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in the first Godzilla movie.
And he's like the
scientist,
chief
the
scientist
chief
guy
man back in Godzilla. He's like Godzilla's hype man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love him. I think he's great in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
Yeah.
And so I did like seeing him, even though all of his lines were really terrible in this film.
rubbish.
The worst, absolute worst bullshit in this film.
Yeah.
Other than that, I thought that this film was very, very good looking. I actually enjoyed a lot of the cinematography from this film and the color choices. I think it was very, very stylistic. And I think that's good because, like, a lot of films, like, if it wasn't done by, like, a creative team that would, like, had some sort of passion in what they do, then it would have just been even worse than it was. And so at least I was just like, I like the look of this, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to go on a similar route, but I'm going to say the music was probably, like, one of my favorite parts.
Music was
they
good.
had, like, it was a bit of a callback to, like, the Godzillas of old, like the claymation Godzillas and stuff, where, like, the deepest musical instrument they could have was, like, a big brass instrument, and they brought that into this film. So instead of doing, like, this kind of deep synth kind of
Inception
thing,
Bwam.
yeah, like, they actually had, like, an orchestral kind of piece that did kind of call back to the original Godzillas.
Yeah, it was slow jazz, which was really weird.
And then I looked to the door, and he came in. Godzilla.
Count to your lizard feet of God, no.
Godzilla wearing a fedora, smoking a cigarette.
I knew I'd seen him somewhere before.
Yeah, I really like the music. I thought that was
Godzilla
a nice little callback. Other than that, not much good.
Not a much of Godzilla.
Not much of Godzilla.
Not a lot of Godzillas.
Not a good Zilla. It's a bad Zilla.
It's a bad Zilla.
Put some mozzarella on.
Mozzarella.
Who would like to kick us off with the negatives?
I'll go last.
All right.
Huh.
Yeah, I've got a lot, and I figure you guys, I might as well not take all of
Okay.
yours. So you guys.
Okay.
I'll go last.
I guess we'll fight to the death afterwards.
Okay. My negative of the
Angus,
film.
do you want to go last?
That would be nice,
Yeah, fair
actually.
enough. Okay, John, take it off.
No. Okay. My biggest negative of the film is I feel like they just kind of lost the idea of scale. I remember in the first movie,
Absolutely.
Godzilla
he
was
looked
fucking
massive.
massive.
Like,
Yeah.
and there was so many things that just showed how big he was.
Yeah.
But they've just taken all of that away in the second movie, so that it's
wasn't
just
that
like
big.
animals fighting animals. Really,
They
like,
also
He
ignored
seemed real small in
the
this one.
physics
Yeah.
that they applied in the first movie. In the first
Yeah.
one, there's a big scene where Godzilla comes out of the ocean and it tsunamis like a sea.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this one, there's like boats
Splash.
going next to him as he walks through the ocean, and there's no water displacement whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like he's just a toddler in a pool.
Yeah,
Like there's no water displacement.
There's a scene where like the submarine comes up, and like they open the hatch and they're out and they're like, oh. And in my mind, I'm like, guys, you better get back in that
Get back
submarine,
in there.
lock that door down, because like waves are gonna come, and Godzilla just pops up next to him, looks at him, goes, and then
like
moves
an
off. You're like,
inflatable duck or something just like pops out of the water.
So I think that was the biggest problem for me, because they just did it so well in the first one, and to neglect that completely in the same franchise.
And giving it
is
shots
just-
of perspective is important. Like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
show
A lot of the first one was filmed from like human perspective,
Yeah, so
or like
you-
low to the ground. I remember there's a shot in an airport in like Hawaii, I think it is, and it's just like a shot of a bunch of people like looking out, like one of those, you know, those huge windows at the airports where you look out over the runway and all the airplanes, and then a giant foot just goes. And like lands on a plane, and the plane blows up, and it's like the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life. And in this film, he was like the size of a jet. And he was just like,
Yeah.
he was so small.
Yeah. So that was probably my biggest negative. That and the weird crash zooms that just kind of crash zoomed on their heads
crash
and just
zooms
got
are
like
weird.
a
I knew
reaction.
there was going to be a
You're like,
lot of that in this film, because
Yeah.
they did a lot of it at the end of The Last Godzilla during the
Yeah.
fight, and I went, if this is going to be more fights, it's just going to be so many. Like, I think I said to you on the way up, like, there's going to be so much, like, unnecessary sort of close up to this CGI fight, you're not going to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And as a result, you just get really taken out of any.
I think
any
I
stakes.
would prefer to have watched a film more akin to the. Did you guys remember the old Godzilla film with? I think it was like Matthew Broderick and the guy from The Simpsons that does all those voices.
Oh no! Have you gone back and looked at that movie? It is horrible.
I know it's bad, but I remember watching it as a kid, and I really liked it as a kid, and I liked it because Godzilla was like the bad guy, right? And it was just about a bunch of humans like trying to survive Godzilla running through their city and destroying everything. I think I would prefer more of that sort of a story than just like, well, Godzilla's got to fight another Zilla. You know, it's like Godzilla, like a giant lizard's got to fight another giant lizard. Because no matter what, it's never going to look that great. Because we've seen a million giant creature versus giant creatures, and none of them have been good.
We've also seen them a lot recently.
Yeah, if you think of it, like the closest one is Pacific Rim, and I had a lot of problems with Pacific Rim, but I reckon there's one good fight scene in Pacific Rim where like it's like a giant robot versus a giant alien thing. But it's like if it's a giant lizard versus a giant lizard, I don't think there's any way to make that interesting enough to make it like that's what the entire film is about.
It just looks like a regular lizard versus a regular lizard.
Yeah.
in slow
Which
motion.
they should have just
slow
filmed
motion,
that and then put it in a giant cardboard city.
And so I think I would have just
miniature cardboard
preferred
city.
like a bunch of humans trying to survive what is the apocalypse of a giant lizard destroying their city and like making it their home or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I would have preferred that more.
The
And
other
having to
thing-
like deal with like looters and shit like that. And so there's like some human versus human. It was like it's the end of the world, so humans also a big problem. I think I would have loved that.
They
sort
did
of stuff.
kind of have that human element in it, but I think they did it so wrong.
It was so weird.
The whole world was being destroyed against like a family feud. It felt like
it was
like,
so. It was
this is a bickering couple. So they're like,
Yeah.
well,
I would
guess
say
we're
one of
gonna
my
destroy
biggest
the world
negatives
now.
is just the writing of this film and just the characters. The characters were nothing. They were just like it felt like one of those moments where they were just saying, okay, so our first big fight scene is going to be Godzilla versus the giant three-headed lizard. Then our second one is going to be the three-headed lizard and like a bunch of like other creatures like land next to him. And then there's a big one at the end with Godzilla and the giant lizard. If you could just throw in some characters there to make us get there in the story, that would be great.
just I mean,
Who cares what they
spends
say? Who cares if it's
20
good?
minutes.
Just throw in a line about a big wrench, and we'll just get there in the story. If they could be in like a massive plane that for no reason,
they probably came up with the one-liners first, and they're like, look, if you can fit these one-liners into the story, great. And they're like, damn, we need to fit these one-liners in somehow.
the writer would be like, "Fuck yeah, I love these one-liners." It's just like,
one-liners.
why are we getting John O McPhil to write this fucking film again?
I'm a good writer.
Give us more of these one-liners. I'm not doing this film until we've got 2 hours of one-liners.
Jesus Christ.
To touch on what you were saying,
That's a big lizard.
touch on what you were saying about scale, also to just sort of
Yeah.
make that harder for them, is they went with DC's idea of just making everything big and grey and then putting it in a big grey background because of smoke. And as a result, you don't know how big anything is or where anything is or why anything looks interesting. It's just a big shadowy silhouette.
I think you saw too much as well. Like, again, like...
There's a weird
one of the
combination
best-
of really good like art design and really bad art design as well. Like, like you talk about the crash zooms, or it's just like this is something that people don't even do in cinema anymore because for good reason it doesn't look that great.
I think this is one of those...
But then there's those moments where it basically looks like a wallpaper of like this like beautifully designed scene with Godzilla in the middle like screaming into the air, and you're like, that looks fucking cool.
There's some
It was
really
a
cool like,
we-
screen grabs, but once the scene continues, it gets worse.
Yeah.
It's a weird like contrast of like maybe there was like two different teams in charge of this stuff, or like the people who were like on the creative side, they were like, okay, we want to do this stuff, and then like the producer was like, you can do all of that, but also I want these massive crash zooms and all of this other shitty stuff.
I think maybe...
And they were like, okay,
They had enough money to afford like one really good visual effects person and then one like
one
ordinary,
dodgy one,
like,
If you can
or, like,
fill
an
in the gaps.
intern.
oh, John O. McPhil, why is he doing the visual effects as well?
Damn it, Fapo.
Was it just me, or did the three-headed dragon look really cartoonish in its face?
I hated the design of it.
reminded me of a Yu-Gi-Oh!
It looked
like,
so...
Yeah.
It looked so out of place because they put a lot
like
of effort into
anime
making
kinda
Godzilla
looking thing.
look like a real kind of creature.
Yeah.
The hard work was done for them.
And
because they
I've
would've
done
had
the
that
same thing
last
with
film.
that like pterodactyl creature as well. I was just like, this looks weird. I was like,
Also, the wingspan on those animals would not support their weight in the air. Like...
yeah, let's go into the physics on Godzilla King of Monsters.
Well, that's like, I'm just looking at it going, those wings are way too small to support themselves.
Thing is Angus
Like, they have
isn't-
to be like 3 or 4 times the length of the body.
Angus
like-
isn't wrong in wanting to do that, because the first film, what was great about that is if you wanted to give the exception of, okay, let's say there is a giant creature, what are the physics that then surround that? And the first film sort of did
where it
that
like
quite
dives
well.
into water
Whereas
and stuff
in
like
this
that.
film, if you do try to look at the physics, it immediately falls apart, and
Yeah.
that's a real big problem between those two
Godzilla
films.
falls from space like a meteor and nothing
Yeah,
Nothing
happens.
happens.
Yeah.
It's like there isn't even like a shockwave or anything when
Yeah.
it impacts the ground.
Also, they put a nuclear warhead under the earth, blow it up, and
Yeah,
then just like
and not even water fills
Nothing
the
happens.
cavern, right? When they came
Yeah.
up, I thought there was a giant wormhole, like of like water going into these like underground
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the underground cavern. But it turns out that was just Godzilla just like rising
Yeah.
up out of the water. I was just like, what? Okay.
Also, they just destroyed this brand new underwater city
Oh yeah,
that
fucking
they like
Atlantis.
just found.
By the way,
Like,
Atlantis is in this film.
yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, that's a big move, but all right.
Yeah.
And then they just destroy it. I'm like, well, I guess we're never going back there again.
Cool,
Yeah.
never mind. So we've more or less touched on my main negative, but I'm just going to say my main negative and then open
Go
the
for
floor
it.
back to you guys before I just lather this film with the rest of what I've written down.
Lather
main
up with
negative
your
is this-
slippery slime.
This film didn't know what it wanted to be. It either could have been a really great, fun B-grade monster film,
Yeah.
kind of like The Meg, like it could have been funny, it
Yeah.
could have been fun, or they could have gone like the first Gareth Edwards Godzilla film and made it like darker and made it based on humans and their perspective of how the world is going to be affected by this. And because they didn't decide whether they wanted to be a fun, silly B-grade movie or a serious film that reflects the drama of humanity surrounding that sort of crisis, we just got this shitty B-grade movie surrounding people who are just having a weird drama, and also there's a giant lizard.
Yeah.
And as a result, we got nothing good. Like, it wasn't funny because it didn't feel like it knew that it was being dumb, and it wasn't serious because it was dumb. There's an alien in this movie.
Yep.
At no point does anybody stop to consider what that means.
Yeah.
They went, oh, so it's not a... Like, they went into the science of the first one to be like, there are these titans that have lived for centuries on this planet,
Yeah.
and they've basically fossilized themselves until they need to be awakened, and blah, 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 blah. And this one, they went...
You can make that work in your head. You're like, okay, yeah, that works.
But in this, like, it's fine. That if that's the justification the audience has to make to enjoy the film, the audience will go, all right, we'll give it that exception. We wanted a monster film. This is how they've explained it. Great. You can't then be like, well, they accepted that. Let's just throw in any manner of bullshit and hope that they don't think about it. No. We gave it that exception. We let you have that, so you can give us a monster film. And then in this, they're like, that one's an alien. And nobody goes... does anybody else want to question that there are aliens?
Where's
and
the
maybe
spaceship?
There could be
Can't
more
question
of
the
them.
alien thing anymore because Stephen Hawking died. He was the only one that could question the alien thing. He's the only one who had the power to question the alien thing. He's got.
Skull Island, I think they got $1 every time they mentioned that in this movie.
Yeah.
They were like...
They got
there's-
$5.
But it was just like, there are so many
Yeah.
other monsters, especially on Skull Island. Have
But
you
it
heard about the
doesn't-
one on Skull Island?
Doesn't do
Doesn't
anything.
show up
It
or do
doesn't show
anything. But it's just like, every time they mention a monster, someone really cringe with it. Like, it wasn't seamless. It was like, yeah, monsters from all over the world and Skull Island. They let a nuke off in the middle of the planet.
Yeah.
That's hollow.
Yeah.
Because of course it is. But also there's a one-way up gravity air bubble. But
Tunnels. I knew it.
tunnels, I knew it. That guy could count down to anything.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter how much he knew or didn't know, he knew exactly how much time it would take for something to happen. Godzilla, he's the nuke
gonna
worked,
blow.
The nuke worked too well. It's gonna blow. T-minus 5 minutes and 59 seconds. Okay, guys, you've got 3 minutes and 48 seconds left. How do you know this? What are you talking about? I can accept that maybe, you know, in the next couple of hours, something will happen. Don't give me a second-to-second countdown. And then there's another bit where they're all looking at a screen and he's giving a countdown, like a 10-second countdown.
Just look at the screen.
Either he's reading
Giving
that...
Jimmy Carr on for his money.
Either he's reading that on the screen, in which case you don't need to say it, everyone's looking at the screen, or you have some supernatural ability to look at something and estimate the countdown, in which case it's really not helpful to do that. They faked death Godzilla and the three-headed dragon so many times in this movie.
Too many times,
To the
yeah.
point where when they died, I was like,
Well, they'll
they'll be back.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel closure at the end of this film. What about that main character, the guy, who apparently, like, he just knew better than everyone. No matter
yeah.
what. Like, he'd
Somehow
be,
just had like a degree in mechanics.
like-
Also biochemistry.
like, he'd be standing in a team of, like army tacticians who have spent their whole life preparing for this moment,
Yeah.
and they're like, right, we're gonna do this. He's like, no, you haven't thought it through.
Yeah.
And you get a call from Dad. Hey Dad, welcome to the Film Slice podcast. What did you think of Godzilla?
Well, by all accounts, Godzilla sounds to me to be the biggest load of crap absolutely going.
You're not wrong. What did you think of the other one you saw, though? What was the one you saw? Rocket Man. What did you think of Rocket Man?
Rocket Man was absolutely magnificent, and I would recommend it to people of all ages. It's got a lot of great music in it. It was a very good story, and it just had an all-around good feeling about it.
I vote we do that.
All right,
instead of
great.
Godzilla.
It's good to know we've clearly reviewed the wrong movie. I love you. I'll
second
call you
it.
back. Goodbye.
Anything
Sorry.
else on Godzilla?
It's a shit film.
It's
Yeah,
not a good
I feel
film.
like
Can we go
I
home?
could go on for the next 30 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah,
You live here.
I feel like we could keep going. Sweet. All right, that's what our thoughts on Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Next week we are going to review Rocket Man.
Because we were going to do X-Men, but nobody cares about X-Men, and nobody liked Rocket Man, so we're doing Rocket Man.
Yeah. All right. Make sure you write in on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter what your thoughts are on the film.
And if
maybe
you-
even X-Men. If you want to chuck in
you
anything
really-
about X-Men,
If you
chuck
really
it
want
in.
us to do X-Men, write in, and we'll ignore it and do Rocket Man still.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
No, we'll do like a little sneak segment on
Look, I'll
X-Men.
probably-
We're not going to watch it,
No.
but we might.
I'll watch
talk
the trailer
about it.
for it and give you my opinion.
All right, sweet. That's next week. Thank you for listening to this one. Next week will be another one. All right.
You have a firm grasp of how
Goodbye.
this works.
Dancing to the crocodile
Saturday,
rocket Saturday, rocking the
na, na, na,
Saturday.
Saturday.
You just
Saturday.
can't keep still.
Don't Saturday.
No.
No. Elton John songs. Tiny Dancer, Saturday, the other one, Blue Suede Shoes, whatever.
No. Elton John. Here's the Rocket Man, the one,
What?
the movie that we're reviewing next week.
The Rocket Man.
Yeah,
Is that like a penis
ground
reference?
control to Elton
Ground
John.
control.
No,
to
that's
Major Tom.
that's a different guy. That's also
Isn't-
not.
That's,
No, that's.
but he's a Rocket Man.
Engines on.
He's in a rocket and he's a man, but he's not. He's not a rocket man.
Okay.
That's Bon Jovi that you're thinking
Yes.
of.
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Bon
So
Jovi.
Elton John is the one who's like, killing in the name of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elton John.
Next
Okay,
week
for
Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.